And welcome back into the Cowboys Report. Still very much inside the 24-hour we're allowed to melt down and take back our takes later window. First question of the day. Will the Cowboys fire Matt Eberflus? K for they will keep him. F for they will end up firing him. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. What will the Cowboys end up doing with Matt Eberflus? K for keep, F for fire. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. We will run through a lengthy list of replacements, so stay tuned on that front. Don't worry, we will have a long list of names for the Cowboys to potentially consider or not consider. There are some of those names on there as well. A lot of F's. Slept on Zay, Steven, Ty, Whisper, Andrew, Clayton, Peyton. It's Fat Boy Roy. All say F for fire. T-Jack says that as well. Get your comments in. Will the Cowboys fire Matt Eberflus? K for keep, F for fire. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. K or F in the comment section of today's show. KH says keep because he's just another Jerry Yes man. So Jerry left the door open. I would be extremely disappointed if they just rolled it back with Matt Eberflus. Like, a three games should override 14 of this being one of the worst defenses the Cowboys have ever had. Even relative to, like, the eras. It's been pretty bad. David M. says, give Clayton Adams play call. No risks the last three. My only pushback here is he's not going to call your plays next year. So, it's going to be Schottenheimer. And that's fine. Just fix your red zone shit. Overall, like, the offense, if it's just a B, whatever it is, where it feels like they should be scoring every single drive, but the difference is the defense is allowing points almost every single drive. Like, I think there's room for improvement with Schottenheimer, especially inside that red zone. Whoever is very much in charge of helping him with the red zone stuff has to be better. Like, they kind of did it good earlier. They just ran the football. And then they kind of stopped running the football in the red zone a little bit too. Like, I am less worried about the offense, even though there's obvious room for improvement, than I am watching the defense allow 30 points a game. I can't win games like that. Like, that's asking the offense to score 35 a game. At that point, our frustration is just with the defense in general. Like, when was the last time the defense won a game for the Dallas Cowboys? It's been a while. This is the Super Chat menu on today's show. Any super is a shout-out. $5 is a raffle entry into our to-be-determined giveaway coming up on Sunday. We'll also have some extra chances to enter. We'll be live here for the A&M Miami game, so stay tuned for that. $10 is 3 raffle entries. $50 is a shot. And $100 is a beer bong here on today's show. We will also discuss Trevon Diggs. At this point, your season is essentially over. I do wonder if they're even going to bother. And it also makes me wonder why they bothered bringing him and designating him to return from IR. Will Diggs ever play again in Dallas? Y for yes, N for no. 78% say no. I flipped back and forth on these. I'm like, when he had the concussion, I'm like, boy, it might be over. And then they brought him back. They didn't return. I'm like, okay, he is going to play again. We'll discuss this in depth. I want to emphasize one thing. There are no reliable narrators in this story. Like, you can't take Jerry at his word. You can't take the coaching staff at their words. You can't take Trevon at his word either. Like, there's clear disagreements on what the expectations are there. Y for yes, N for no. Will Diggs play again in Dallas? Brendan says no. Andrew says no. Peyton, Matt, T-Jack, Robert, Matt Batten, all typing in their N's for no. At this point, if you'd won against the Vikings, maybe the door would have been kept open, but, like, he's not going to be here next year, so why play him? Honestly, why? There's not a lot of benefits to doing that. We'll talk about it on today's show as well. We'll do draft as well. We'll have a mock draft for you later this week. We'll do Mel Kiper's updated big board, looking at some names that might make sense for the Cowboys and some names he left off there. Who do you want to draft in round 1? Let me know in the comments of today's show. We'll give some shout-outs here as well. Clayton says the divorce papers have been filed. The attorneys are hammering out the paperwork. Sonny Styles from David. It's a good name. It's a very good name. He'll be a fun player to watch in the college football playoff. Styles or Allen? also kind of where I'm at. Like, I think Styles is a better athlete. I think there might be more like upside, but I think Allen also like fits really well with what you don't have. But that's also like either. Like, I'll take either of them. I'd be very happy. David Bailey, good name. Safety or linebacker. I don't think you're going to be able to get Caleb Downs, but that'd be fun. Anthony Hill. I trust Dane on that one. Day 2 grades for Anthony Hill. So maybe not a round 1 target for you there. Anyone that's not burnt toast. Good answer. Good answer. Linebacker than a corner. I think that's a reasonable outcome, actually, of like what the value will probably be. CJ Allen, I hope Caleb Downs falls. Sonny Styles. One from Penn State. I don't know who that would be. Not exactly a good class for Penn State this year. What's up, Aiden?
Saw a Jacob Rodriguez comment down there. Obviously not a first-round guy, at least not right now, unless he goes on some crazy playoff run here. But
the measurables
certainly
are an
love
issue.
the fit.
I will happily take him on day 3.
Yeah.
Like, just take him.
That's like a green dot right away. That's the guy you're looking for to be able to command that defense.
Keldrick Falk, Sonny Styles, Mansour Delane. I love Delane. It would be nice to see the Cowboys change their ways of taking the guy that isn't the superstar, long, athletic guy. Something tells me they're not going to, but it's a fun idea there. Who do you want to draft in round 1? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Before we dive in to our live coverage, if you want Matt Eberflus fired, who doesn't at this point? Show it by liking the video, please and thank you. Right now, he has to go, man. You can't run it back with a defense that allows 30 points a game. You can't do it. It's not all his fault, but he hasn't done a bunch of good stuff either. He has to go. So coming up on today's show, we'll discuss some Dallas Cowboys news and rumors for you. We will go in depth on a extensive, but honestly, like there's probably a good half dozen names you could also throw in there on the Matt Eberflus replacement side. A mailbag. Get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line all together via Super Chat. And we will run through Mel Kiper's big board and which names stand out as potential targets for the Dallas Cowboys. All of that coming up here live on the Cowboys Report. No surprise, it's bad news on the Cowboys Report today. We'll discuss Trevon Diggs, George Pickens' quiet night, why maybe we don't have to freak out too much on that one. Nathan Thomas' struggles again at left tackle before he got hurt, and just trying to figure out where the heck the pass rush has gone in recent games, but especially against the Vikings. Given the timing, coming off of Sunday Night Football, a live show less than 24 hours later, I don't think we're going to get a push notification on today's video. So if you have people who don't know what's going on with Trevon Diggs, want some more insight there, and to help me feed my family, share today's video on social media. Let's get into where things sit with Trevon Diggs. The saga, the drama, forever ongoing. Diggs and Jerry Jones speaking post-game about Trevon Diggs. Here's what Seven said. Going into the week, that was the plan, was for me to play. I was included in the game plan to play. Yesterday, I was told I was not playing. So that's why I thought I was playing. It was a quick decision. I didn't know. I thought I was going to come out here and play, but they thought otherwise. Disappointed, because I definitely thought I was coming out, going to play. You know, hope these guys try to pull out a win. I think how it was handled, I didn't like that, because I thought that I was playing. It is what it is. Try to focus on the next week. See if I can show them whatever they want to see. I'm going to show them and go from there. I don't know the special requirements that I need to show that I can play. I've been in practice. I've been practicing well. I've been running around doing what I'm supposed to do. It's not my decision at the end of the day, so I have to wait and see wherever we go back to practice. Just do what I can do to show that I am ready to play. Diggs' stance, very clear, and I think it's been the way for a while, is he thinks he is good to go, especially from a health perspective. The Cowboys, whether it be Schottenheimer, Eberflus, and even Jerry Jones, very clearly seem to disagree. Jerry is saying it's health-related, saying he isn't healthy enough to be out there for us, period. You have to look at if they practice good enough, whether it's a limitation they've had in recent games or a long-term injury. You make up your mind when you see him practice. When we looked at practice, we didn't like what we saw relative to health and the ability to make plays. We're going to spend a lot more on this, and there is one element that I do want to hammer home here early. There are no reliable narrators in this story. You cannot trust Trevon Diggs at his word. You cannot trust the coaching staff at their word. You cannot trust Jerry Jones blindly at his word because they've all given us reasons to not really fully trust them for a variety of reasons. What we do know is there is a very clear disagreement between the two sides as to what Trevon Diggs needs to do to get back out there. I don't know if it's necessarily health-related. It might be some of the other stuff that Schottenheimer has hinted at as well. Either way, we are trending towards this, or, a decision has to be made, I should say, coming up this week. If he is not designated to return and back on the active roster by Sunday, he's not playing this year. He's out of time. So will Trevon Diggs play again in Dallas or this year? Because if he doesn't play this year, it looks unlikely. Y for yes, N for no. Let's go to Jordan Schultz here. And he tweeted this out kind of before the game that Trevon Diggs will not play on Sunday. This comes after what was described to me as a great week of practice. Multiple sources tell me the relationship between Diggs and the organization is soured and has been severed, which if we've been paying attention, we know that relationship is in a really bad spot. I am not sure that the coaching staff, and Jerry kind of said it was not the case either, that they would agree that Diggs had a great week of practice. Jordan Schultz probably got his information from Trevon Diggs. Who's to blame Diggs? He clearly thinks he had a good week of practice. The reality is for the Dallas Cowboys and Trevon Diggs, it has long been when, not if, he's gone. He's not going to be here next year. If the Cowboys could have, they would have traded him away in the offseason. The two sides have issues, and both sides are probably not blameless in this whole thing either, by the way. It's not just Diggs against the front office, with the front office going out of their way to take shots at him about his rehab stuff, or even Diggs against Eberflus, with Diggs claiming and saying he wants to run more man coverage. I don't think Brian Schottenheimer is that thrilled with Trevon Diggs either. Look at some of his comments he's made. I love Trevon, but is how he goes into all of them. That's the implication, that whatever it is behind the scenes the Cowboys don't think he's doing, that Diggs does think he is doing, is the root cause in this particular instance, beyond the other injuries and the rehab stuff that has lingered over this team for a while now. Are those little things happening? Is he having the attention to detail? Is he doing the rehab stuff, which he reportedly wasn't doing earlier this year? All of those things kind of loom large here. Diggs is right about the lack of man coverage, by the way. The corners are better at it. You should probably do the things that your team is better at. There is also a right and a wrong way to try to convey that information. Maybe that was an issue in the past. Whether it is still now, who's to say? The big picture, man, the behind-the-scenes stuff just doesn't look very good. And it is extremely fair to wonder if he's going to play this year. Because it just seems dicey and messy. And whether it's Diggs' fault for the Cowboys' fault, or in reality, a little of both, this relationship is about to be at its end. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It is the holiday season, the best time of the year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there is one place where it feels good to be right, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. A little Monday Night Football action for you. Aaron Rodgers more than 211.5 passing yards. Tua in the cold, I like the less than at passing yards. Devon Achane more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. Get in on the action in 45 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Let's talk George Pickens here. He was once again held in check against the Minnesota Vikings. Is that worthy of freaking out in a game in which Pickens just didn't have a great night? 3 catches, 33 yards on only 6 targets. They ran the one slant that the Vikings did a good job of sitting on there. Dak was asked post-game about a variety of things, about Pickens in particular. He says, anytime where we were in an obvious passing situation or passing downs, and they were giving us that zero look, we tried to throw him to just a quick smoke, and maybe we should have done it earlier. Maybe we should have thrown him a slant. A lot of maybes. I am frustrated. That was one of the toughest ones I have been a part of. Brian Schottenheimer says that they ran a lot of cover 2, which, by the way, I'll give the Vikings credit. They were able to do cover 2 out of double A-gap mug looks, and that's really hard to beat. A lot of different techniques things. They change the coverage up a lot. Again, there was plenty of our explosives. I think he had 6 targets, only 3 catches. That's not enough. And that starts with me and the offensive staff. We got to find ways to get him the ball better. In the end, this is my takeaway. I'm not that mad about George Pickens. I think that he was probably better, even though the numbers don't show it, this week than he was last week. The Vikings defense and Brian Flores just outplayed you. They outplayed the Cowboys and Brian Schottenheimer. That happens in the NFL. You still put up the 4th most points the Vikings have allowed all season. You just allowed the 2nd most points and the most in a game in which the Vikings didn't force 5 takeaways on defense. I also think it was an accident that both Lamb and Flournoy were good. That both of those guys had some success again. And there seems to be some extra attention being paid to George Pickens. And if you're the Vikings, like you were able to get them into third and long scenarios, you're able to sit on those short routes, takes away Pickens because you couldn't protect long enough to do any deep stuff. Next week, you have to hit the sluggo at some point. The opposing defenses are begging to get burned on a double move by George Pickens. The backup left tackle issues, we'll talk about here in a second, probably a factor there, but it is worth mentioning. So are you worried about George Pickens? A for yes, B for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Someone I am worried about, Nate Thomas. Before he went down with that shoulder injury, it was another bad night out of the Cowboys left tackle. He's just not playing particularly well. In 58 snaps, he allowed a sack, 3 hurries, the most among offensive linemen. A flag as well. The run blocking was better than what it had been in weeks past, but I think there is Mauler potential. It hasn't been there. From a comparison perspective, Nate Thomas has already allowed more sacks this year than Tyler Guyton has, which is a concern. And the hits and hurries and pressures are not that far behind when the snaps actually are. Same with the flags overall. From a pressure rate allowed, Nate Thomas is about 10.5%. That's really bad. Guyton is not great. It's at 7.4. If you want to value PFF at all, which that's a data point, I guess, Nathan Thomas is 86 out of 87 qualifying offensive tackles. I thought he's going to be better at left tackle these past 2 weeks. He just hasn't played well. It's kind of concerning that right now your best tackle is Terrence Steele. Before Guyton's injury, the last 5 games or so, it actually probably was Guyton, but very disappointed because I was hoping that Nate Thomas was going to play well, and it would have been nice to have that impact earlier. All right, we just hit 240K subs. Thank you all so much. Hit that sub button to help us get to 250,000 subscribers here on the Cowboys Report. Talk pass rush, or really, where the hell was it? The Cowboys still don't want to bring blitzes, and as has been the case inconsistently over the course of the season, if the Cowboys don't bring blitzes, they don't always get home with pressures. And this team has to get pressure, or else, like most teams, they're cooked. The pressure numbers per PFF against the Minnesota Vikings: 3 from Quinn Williams, 17.7%. Kenny Clark is 2 at a 10% rate. Jadeveon Clowney, 2 at 14.3%. Ezraku just had the 1 at 7.1%. Dante Fowler, 1 at 33%. Oso Odighizuwa, back-to-back weeks, essentially being a no-show. Don't like that. Solomon Thomas, Sam Williams, James Houston, handful of reps, not many chances there. Ezraku, I feel like he's hit the rookie wall, frankly. You don't have a dude at edge, and that shows up too much. The lack of consistent pressure is a problem from this Cowboys team. There's a lot of problems with this Cowboys team, in particular on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of changes are needed in the offseason. Hopefully they come, because otherwise it's just going to be a not inspiring offseason for the Cowboys. So will the Cowboys end up firing Matt Eberflus? K for keep, F for fire. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. K for keep, F for fire. Let me know in the comments of today's show. We'll give some Actually, a super chat I want to get to here as well. JL Channel, what's your thoughts on Dak? Seems to always come up short when it counts. I'm tired of seeing lesser QBs outplay him. Is it time to move on? Are lesser quarterbacks outplaying him, or is your defense just I was going to swear again. I shouldn't swear. It's 4:19 Eastern. I shouldn't swear. Or is your defense just that bad? Like, he threw for 290 plus yards? Like, it is a team sport in the end. He continues to find ways to lead some of the highest scoring offenses in the NFL. No one has more passing yards. That's also a defensive stat because it sure would be nice to kind of be able to grind out games this year. But if you were averaging only 26 points a game instead of 30, by the way, you have 4 wins this year. If you had a top 10 up to a top 5 offense, you'd have 4 wins. Like, he has carried you to 6 wins this year. I don't think the quarterback's the issue. I think there are a lot of bigger ones, almost all of them residing on that defensive side of the ball. So I get like the general frustration, but I've made this point before, and I think it very much applies to this one too, Jay. If you're mad at the offense for not scoring 35 to win games, you're not actually mad at the offense. I feel like you are, but you're not. You're actually mad at the defense in the end. Not to say that Dak can't be better, but give him a B grade, whatever you want to give him. I'm not worried about trying to get the B grade to an A when I've got a unit that's flunking altogether. Like, can I get that to a C? And then we can have a more in-depth conversation. Like, I'm more always locked in on the bigger issues, and that's clearly your defense. From Nate, $2. I can't answer that. Jerry Jones could. I'll see what Jerry says in the end. Jerry kind of played coy a little bit on will the Cowboys fire Matt Eberflus. K for keep, F for fire. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Robert says F. Gary says F. It's not good. Talk about his replacements here in a little bit. Super chat menu on today's show. Any super chat is a shout out. $5, like Jay just did, is a raffle entry for TBD giveaway coming up here on Sunday. $10 is 3 raffle entries, $50 is a shot, and $100 is a beer bong. That is the super chat menu here on today's show. Make sure I'm not missing any injury updates from this team. We'll probably get some this week, but who knows if that's going to happen. Pittsburgh signed MVS, whatever. Rivers. Yeah, that's fine. Hit that super chat button. Answer all your... It's therapy hour. If you have anything you need to complain about, now's a good time. Coming up on today's show, we will be looking at a lengthy list of Matt Eberflus replacements as the Cowboys defensive coordinator. You can't come back as a DC or a unit when you're allowing 30 points per game. That's not okay. And I think most of us agree. It's not all of us, but I think most of us agree with that. If you do agree, and you want Matt Eberflus fired, and we went in depth on Monday's show breaking down why I think that has to happen, show it by liking today's video. Speak your mind, give us 1,000 likes, and show us that you want Matt Eberflus fired. So Matt Eberflus replacements time. I know it's not good to do it again, but you have to. It is time for the Cowboys to search, a real search, for a new defensive coordinator and fire and move on from Matt Eberflus. I know that 4 defensive coordinators in 4 years is a bad thing. I acknowledge that. It is actually worse, though, to just keep a bad defensive coordinator for the sake of continuity. The new DC might not be good. That is the possibility. But the mystery box actually works as an idea when you know you don't have a boat and you have comedy tickets. Maybe it's not a boat. Maybe $100 in cash instead. It might be an upgrade in the end. The odds are you have to play it at that point when you know you have a duck. One request, by the way, and there's a long list of names, a lot of names you know, some maybe you don't know. Let Brian Schottenheimer do a real coaching search for a new defensive coordinator. Go actually try to hire a good, impactful DC. Don't do this nonsense like you've done almost every year in recent memory. In fact, every year in recent memory, just you pick the first guy you like. You hired Matt Eberflus because the ownership was buddies with him. That's why you brought back Mike Zimmer, because they knew him. It's why you hired Dan Quinn interviewing essentially nobody. That one at least worked, by the way. Mike McCarthy brought in a buddy and Mike Nolan. Do a real search. Expand your net so you're not just picking the same 5 guys you've heard of before. Just because you know them doesn't mean they're a good defensive coordinator. I've got all these lists of names grouped into 5 different buckets. But I just said, old friends. Some of them are good, some not so good. The experienced options, guys that could be available only because of regime changes, some up-and-comers that stand out to me, and a little bucket of probably some bad ideas. They're names, but I don't think they'd be a very good hire. So what is your confidence level when it comes to the Cowboys hiring a defensive coordinator? 1 to 10 is the scale on today's show. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. First up is, I think, going to be the most popular name in the comments. That's Al Harris, the Bears defensive backs coach. And everywhere he has gone, outside of 2024, the DBs have had pretty good success. Now, allegedly, the Cowboys didn't like how Al Harris managed Trevon Diggs. That's maybe a different conversation for a different day. But at this point in his career, I do think it is finally time for Al Harris to get some defensive coordinator interviews. And he should be on your list. This is a name that you should interview. He might not be ready. Honestly, he might not be. I think he's probably learned some very good stuff from Dennis Allen, by the way. I think that helps him out as a DC candidate overall. I would interview him. I am not just going to hand him the job. Maybe there's some benefits to having some similarities with the Dan Quinn scheme, adding some Dennis Allen stuff. I just don't want to give him the job because he's somebody that we know. But, yes, he should be on your interview list. Name I kind of don't want to hire is Ken Norton Jr. There's overlap from his time in Dallas, obviously. There's overlap from his time together with Brian Schottenheimer in Seattle. He, as a defensive coordinator, though, over the course of his career, when he was with Seattle, it kind of wasn't very good. With the Raiders, too, kind of wasn't very good. I get the Jones boys know him. Shotty knows him. I would be hesitant there. Same with Mike Zimmer. I don't think going back to the well on that one is probably a good idea. It just feels like, okay, we're doing this. It also wasn't good with Zimmer. We do know that, right? It got better at the end. How much of that was the opposing teams you were playing were very good? Again, the old friends list, I don't have a lot of names that I'm super high on. Zimmer's an old friend. Aaron White kind of is a new friend. And he is your top, if you fired Eberflus midseason, he would be your top, internal option. I feel like you keep him on the staff as a D line coach. One more bonus name here. I don't think is going to come available, but if they collapse and miss the playoffs, maybe it's on the table. I would doubt it, though, is Todd Bowles, who is an old friend, by the way, because he has been on the staff in the past. I actually think as a defensive coordinator, I would have a lot of interest in Todd Bowles. The idea of Matt Eberflus, the fired head coach who was a good defensive coordinator, actually does work for me. He was a good DC in Tampa when he got promoted. He was a very good DC in Arizona. Got the Jets job, got the Bucs job. His game management I can't stand. But former Cowboys secondary coach years ago, back in 05, 07, part of those really strong staffs. I actually wouldn't mind that one. He will blitz too, by the way, unlike some of your current guys. Who do you want as the next defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Another bonus name here is Brian Flores. Now, I only put him on here because he is on an expiring contract. And technically speaking, you could hire somebody who is on an expiring contract. I don't know why, if I were Brian Flores, I would leave where I am at. I get good results out of my defense. I'm not in danger of being fired anytime soon. It's Dallas. That personnel is just probably not as good, frankly. I would love him. In a heartbeat. Blank check. Happy to do it. Wouldn't get my hopes up, though. Just feels a little bit like, people in hell want ice water. I'm thirsty for him, but it's, doesn't mean it's actually available in the end. So some regime changes here. How about some fired coaches or potentially fired head coaches? Jonathan Gannon, the Cardinals head coach, who I think has actually done a relatively good job overall in Arizona, but the wheels are falling off right now. And I wouldn't be shocked if some regime changes happened. Knows the NFC East. Didn't have a great defense his final year, but I think he's actually overachieved relative to talent in Arizona. If the Dolphins blow it up, Anthony Weaver kind of finally finding a bit of a groove as the Dolphins DC. It was also a slow start. again, there's issues with all these guys because, like, the regime changes are like, well, why are you available? You got fired, right? Jim Schwartz, the Browns defensive coordinator. He's actually good at his job. You know, the offense has issues in Cleveland. He will have a long list of teams in the market for him in the event that the Browns, blow it up from a coaching staff perspective. Raheem Morris, another name who I would not be surprised if he gets fired. I think the decision-making overall from some of those members in the organization at the very top, with the way they've handled the quarterbacks, everything else, has been a huge issue. He's had success at multiple different stops as a defensive coordinator. The Rams stand out as one of them, even Atlanta, way back when to an extent. Some overlap there with the Dan Quinn stuff, so you can kind of pitch it as like, hey, we're getting back to our old form there. Again, might get fired because things are bad. The offense has been the bigger issue in Atlanta. I wouldn't mind that one at all. Cowboys defense is, you know what? It reminds you of a behind, right? Make sure you're taking care of your behind with the Tushy Bidet. It is the everyday luxury bidet that instantly transforms your bathroom habits and bottom health for life. Whether you're shopping this holiday season for a bro, CEO, activist, someone who is weird and lights their farts on fire, it is the gift that refuses to pick a lane. Luxurious, practical, techie, and so easy to use. 99% of people who wash with the Tushy Wave feel cleaner and fresher after going to the bathroom. Every Tushy bidet easily attaches to your existing toilet without the need for additional plumbing. There's 2-in-1 benefits: reduced irritation, preventing micro tears with soothing water instead of scratchy toilet paper or damaging wet wipes. It's very easy to use. Sit, cleanse, and dry using the built-in air dryer. Cleaning yourself after using the bathroom is now hands-free. Remember, a-hole is only a dirty word if you're talking, if you wipe or talking about some members of this Cowboys coaching staff. For a limited time, you guys get 10% off your first bidet order when you use code CHAT at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com/chat with promo code CHAT. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. Denard Wilson, next up here. The Titans defense has kind of been the same MO many years. They're actually okay early, and then they kind of fade late because they're just overmatched with personnel issues and an offense that's been pretty bad. But I wouldn't mind him. He could even be like a potential DB's coach if you do some real regime changes. Other guys that I could see getting fired, Patrick Graham. Okay, I don't think he's that great. I think the Bengals have bigger issues from a personnel perspective than a coaching staff perspective. A year ago, we'd be like, yeah, hire the Notre Dame DC. That's a good idea. His stock has fallen and now gold, and I'm not in love with that one. And I will give Nick Harris some credit. He mentioned this name. About Pete Carroll. What if he wants to keep on coaching? Because I don't think he's going to make it in Las Vegas. Then again, everything about the Raiders is bad, and I don't know if that's actually a great idea. But it was a very unique outside-the-box hire that I wanted to kind of throw out there. It was like, okay, that one's you could consider a little bit. How about some up-and-comers? I am all aboard the Jim Leonhard train. I think that is a really good idea for the Cowboys. If Vance Joseph gets hired, though, as a head coach, he's going to take over as the Broncos DC, so I won't get my hopes up there. He has been on NFL DC lists dating back to his time at Wisconsin when he was even younger and more up-and-coming. I think he is a fantastic coach overall. He has experience. It's an outside-the-box hire in terms of, it's not in your bubble, because this team should get out of its comfort zone at least a little bit. I like the idea of Jim Leonhard. Lots of other names here. Some of these, I'm picking, okay, this has a good defense. I like this guy's scheme. It may be Connor Orr or Tom Pelissero mentioned them. Guys are like, okay, this is different style that you could benefit from, and have been on some of the up-and-coming coaching lists here. Aubrey Pleasant, the Rams passing game coordinator. It works. Rams have had success every year. He could also be a new DC if Chris Shula gets hired as a head coach. He is the Rams' current DC. Dante Jones is the Vikings defensive backs coach. You saw how much we like about the Brian Flores defense, right? That's a good defense, man. Maybe you hire someone from that tree. DeMarcus Covington, a offensive player in college, by the way, now a D-line coach for the Packers. Jeff Hafley's had some success. He could also be an internal promotion in the event that Hafley gets hired somewhere as a head coach. Chris Kurek, the Niners D-line coach, consistently gets extra talent out of what is maybe on that coach or on that personnel roster. I don't know if he's ready for a DC, but I think is a name worth mentioning there. If you guys want more free Cowboys YouTube videos, whether it's good, bad, ugly, something else in between, hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Some more names here. I'll be honest, I'm leaning on Connor Orr with his list of names, which is sometimes just like the agent's list of names, but also it's like names are going to get interviews. Dino Vasso, elite name. I'll call him Dino because it's more fun. I love watching D'Amico Ryan's defense. And a lot of these DB coaches also have passing game coordinator title. Yeah, I've got interest. Why not call him? Christian Parker has been Vic Fangio's right-hand man for a while. Vic Fangio runs a good defense. The downside of these guys is, well, outside of Leonard, they haven't really been a DC before. So you're gambling. But sometimes you have to gamble. A couple different Niners DBs coaches, one's secondary, one's passing game coordinator. Daniel Bullock and Ray Brown both were on the Connor Orr list. Carl Scott over in Seattle, who has had kind of a unique path to his current regime in the NFL. He's done a lot of different things in different roles, everything else in terms of like he's coached collegiately. He coached at Alabama for several years and was a Vikings DB coach back in 2021. Holdover with Seattle. Shoddy is kind of like some of those, college background guys. Did coach under Nick Saban. That's got some benefits, I think, there. I also saw Gerald Alexander mentioned, former player, Steelers DB coach. I think relative to the talent, I think he's actually got probably better results in part than maybe what some of the overall impact should be from that group. So Gerald Alexander there. Some experienced options. Ryan Nielsen has done a couple different DC jobs, but it's all been one-hit wonders, and it's not ideal. You interviewed Leslie Frazier last time. I don't think that's a great idea. The downside is, why are they experienced? Well, they've all been fired at some point. Don Martindale is the polar opposite of what you do with Matt Eberflus. He's just going to blitz you nonstop. I think it gives you more variation, and maybe that's what you need in the end. Joe Cullen was a Jags DC briefly, a Chiefs defensive line coach right now. Two more names here that kind of, but also don't have DC backgrounds. Antonio Pierce has 1 year calling it in college. So it is experienced, but also not experienced. Kind of in a weird bucket there. Gerard Mayo as well, the former Patriots head coach, actually wasn't the play caller, by the way. He was a coach in waiting and hasn't actually been a defensive coordinator in the past. If you want to throw someone like a Matt Patricia in, I guess, but I feel like he's just going to stay at Ohio State. I feel like he's got a good thing going there. Three names that I'm like, no, don't do. We're not doing Bill Belichick. It's a bad idea. Don't want to do it. Horrible. I actually don't want Rex Ryan. The man hasn't coached in like a decade. His last top 10 defense it was like 15 years ago. It's a long time, man. And I kind of think Rex Ryan wants to be a head coach. I think much like Bill Belichick, I kind of wonder if that actually fits that well. Or if that's going to be some underlying tension there. Steve Wilkes just fired by the Jets. Aaron Glenn goes in this bucket as well. I think he's not going to get fired. Quinn Williams didn't get along with them that great. There were issues there. I'm going to stick with Quinn Williams. I'll find a different DC instead. Mailbag time here on the show. Two ways to get on. You can use hashtag Cowboys or skip that line altogether via Super Chat. C1 William Cook. We will get both of those Super Chats on via the mailbag here. So C1 and William Cook. What's up? Okay. Get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether via Super Chat. If you do not use hashtag Cowboys, producer Aiden cannot find your question and bring them up on screen. It can be ideas and names of DCs if you want them as well. I just want a real search. So I want actual, real coaching search. So for once on one side, well, I guess they kind of did with the OC, by the way. They kind of locked in on Clayton Adams early, but that one worked at least, so I give them half credit. Questions in via hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether via Super Chat. As a reminder, as your hashtag Cowboys questions come in, any Super Chat gets you a shout out on the show. A $5 Super Chat gets you into our raffle entry. $10 gets you 3 raffle entries. $50 is a shot, and $100 is a beer bong. So get those questions in via hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether via Super Chat. Aiden tells me we could still use a few more questions. So if you haven't already, now is the time to get them in. Any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, everything else in between, get them in with that hashtag Cowboys. That way Aiden can find them, bring them up on the screen. By the way, just no price pick example for this segment because we don't have one for later in the week yet. So that. Again, last call. Get those questions in via hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether via Super Chat. So get them in. Hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether via Super Chat. A $5 super thanks that came in before the Cowboys-Vikings game. I am concerned the defense will make McCarthy look like an all-pro, and Jefferson will have a 100-yard day. Well, the Cowboys actually did do a good job of bottling up Jefferson. He didn't have a very productive day in the end. But they did allow McCarthy to have a career-best game. So, in the end, half right, but also fully right there from William. If you want in to our weekly raffles here, each game day, Cowboys game day, on the Cowboys Report, get them in with a $5 super thanks. Whether you're not able to watch live, that's fine. Get those raffle entries in on demand with a super thanks. From Travis McLaurin, is this Terry's brother? Thanks. Let's go Cowboys and keeping us up to date. Appreciate that, Travis. Thank you for watching as well. CJ Baxter Burner, who has to get a new name. He can't be CJ Baxter Burner anymore if you're a Texas fan, my friend. Says, anyway, I can't be the only one who knows them an answer for the blitz. Nothing over the middle, it seemed. Dak and the offense didn't have their A game, but they had their B game, maybe B+. I'd go B, which again puts the level of expectations if you scored 26 points and you had your B game. It wasn't enough and usually isn't. Also, we need to seriously invest in safety and blitz more. What's the worst that happens? A key to facing young QBs is heating them up, and we did not do that at all. Cowboys have issues paying their guys they draft. Guys like Ferguson and Bland, they never take risks, go with what's familiar. Having Bland is easier when you have Mike and Lawrence getting pressure. Can't expect the opposing or the team to cover well when you're not getting pressures at all. You know, Bland has been not good enough. Funny enough, got beat one time kind of bad by Jalen Naylor. It was actually pretty good beyond that. He actually, against Jefferson, he actually won that matchup. Which if I told you would have said great, and then you would have seen him get beat by Jalen Naylor, what are we doing out here? How did both those things happen in the same game? I don't really understand, frankly. But I agree with all of that. Why aren't you blitzing? It looks like Matt Eberflus has a quota of blitzes to hit. Once he gets there, he's done. He says, I'm fine. I'm not going to do it anymore. But yeah, this just isn't enough. You have to. Your defense is so bad. The offense has to have an A game to maybe win. Also, from CJ Baxter Burner. Honestly, maybe nitpicky, but I feel like Sadiq should have been more aggressive last night. I'm tired of taking 3 points when his defense is consistently playing terrible. Even before the game was a long shot that we would make it. Go out there and show you're serious about it. I don't care if you get in or not at this point in the year, or it's all or nothing. He's way too inconsistent with going forward and taking the points. I agree. Look, at times, this is kind of the dark secret, having an elite kicker can actually be a negative for you when it comes to in-game decision-making. There have been a bunch of times this year the Cowboys have gone, okay, we're in field goal range, we're fine. Even end of halves. Twice, I think, this year, they've run the ball once they got past midfield, and it happened to go for a 40-yard play, and they got a touchdown anyway. Instead of, they're okay settling for 45, 50, 55-yard tries because Aubrey so often makes those kicks. But when you need 7 to win games and not 3, it almost becomes a slight negative for you. With just you get to rely on him too much, and if he misses, well, boy, you really should have been more aggressive on that front. And it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. In the end, Aubrey's a positive for you if your defense can show up more than 3 times a year. Your defense has not done that this year. So overall, big picture, offense, defense, special teams, grade the Cowboys season so far. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. David M. Give Clayton Adams play calling. No risks the last 3. I actually get where you're coming from. But if the starters are still out there playing, which they're going to prep to play this week, like not technically out of it yet, they're going to keep playing. I'm fine giving Schottenheimer more play calling chances. I think there are things he has to be better at, and we should treat these final 3 games as let's get better, let's improve on stuff, let's build some good momentum, culture, whatever you want to call it, going into next year, have some confidence, and try to improve on things. Now, maybe week 18, you kind of change your mind there depending on what happens, but as long as they're technically alive and or playing in a solo window game on Netflix on Christmas Day, I don't think this team is going to give up and quit, despite, I think, some concerns about injuries, which is valid. Adams isn't going to be your play caller next year, so I'm okay letting Schottenheimer continue to do it. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the holiday season, the best time of the year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right. That is Prize Picks. Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. It is simple to play. You pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. Get those picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks available in 45 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. JL Channel, what are your thoughts on Dak? He seems to always come up short when it counts. I'm tired of seemingly lesser quarterbacks outplay him. Is it time to move on? Again, I think this is actually a defensive issue in the end. This is an offense that is still putting up top 5 numbers in almost every metric you want to find. That is not a quarterback issue. He can be better. Like, he has to have his A game. I don't think anyone would argue he had his A game against the Vikings. I don't think anyone would argue that. He is also the single biggest reason why you have 6 wins this year. Your offense in general is why. Like, you're averaging nearly 30 points a game, and you have a negative point differential. You're getting outplayed by opposing quarterbacks because your defense is really bad. I've said this before, and I think it's the best way to describe it. If you're mad at the offense this year, you can be disappointed, say that there's room for improvement, that's all perfectly accurate. But if you're like saying the offense is the reason why you are bad or anything along those lines, you're not actually mad at the offense. You're mad at the defense. 26 points should win you games. And you would have 4 wins this year if you scored 26 points in every game. That should be flipped. You should lose 4 games if you're averaging 26 points a game. Maybe it's 5, whatever. That's the crux of the issue. Nate's asking about, should they're going to keep or fire Matt Eberflus? Says, I can't answer that. Jerry Jones could. Jerry hired him. That was a front office decision. Let Shoddy hire the next DC. C1, if Dallas gets removed from playoff contention, is there a way Dallas sits Dak to prevent injury for him? It will help getting Milton game action. So this is where I'm like, let's have the conversation. Here's how this is going to go. The Cowboys will know on Sunday if they are alive in the playoff race. But they're not going to know that until Saturday night. So because no organization that is not officially eliminated is going to be like, yes, let's roll over and die. That's just not how they operate. And especially with a new head coach, like, I think there are benefits to trying to, have some success and build some momentum, build some confidence. I don't think this team is good enough, not that many teams are, to flip the switch off and on. They've never shown that at any point. So this week, they're going to play the other QB. They might be out of it going into that Christmas Day game against the Washington Commanders, who are also sitting Jaden Daniels, by the way. That is also a very short week. If you're going to play Joe Milton, I don't know if that's what you actually want to put him into in a scenario of like getting him game reps. I think the injury stuff is a valid concern. That's why my guess is they try for real these next 2 games and will reevaluate after that. Plus, I'm sure the NFL wants to have a Cowboys team trying to win games on Netflix Christmas Day game. Borat, what are the odds the Cowboys tank? Very similar comment here. Honestly, outside of Week 18, I think pretty low. Because also, look, you're 6-7-1. You are out of getting a top 6 pick. You cannot get there. Maybe you get to a top 9 pick, maybe, but like you're 2.5 games back of the top 9 teams with 3 to play. They're gonna lose games because they're bad too. I think realistically, Chiefs might lose some games because of no Mahomes. Like the Vikings, the Dolphins might win 1 or 2 more. Maybe you're picking 11 or 12. I don't know what player you're tanking for because I don't think you're going to catch the Bengals. I don't think Caleb Downs is going to be there for you. I think you've just won too many games already. You won too many games 2 weeks ago when you had 6 wins. And again, I actually think you would benefit from like doing what the Lions did years ago, trying to be competitive. Otherwise, like if this was a 5th year of Schottenheimer, I'd say tank and lose games. As long as you fire Eberflus. Like, we'll do a video of, like, what I want to accomplish the rest of the season, and there are some, like, contradictory things of, like, don't roll over and die, but also fire Matt Eberflus. Like, that they kind of contradict each other, but I want them to happen. So how many more games will the Cowboys win down the stretch this season? 3 games left. 0, 1, 2, or 3. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. William Cook, I think one of the most important factors for the Cowboys is cost. They want a coach willing to take a lot less. They're never going to money whip someone to come take this job. Like, they're just not going to. We don't have the details of the Schottenheimer contract. I would bet he is one of the lowest paid head coaches in the NFL, if not the lowest paid head coach. It's how they operate. Flores out of a deal. Cowboys aren't going to win a bidding war for him. When was the last time the Cowboys won a bidding war that was just money related? Trades they'll do. What was the last free agent, money war they won? Coaching money war they won? Never. William Cook. I think one of the most important factors. We actually don't. Thank you. Vinny is next up here. Excuse me. If Eberflus were to be fired, would he even coach in the NFL again? I think he had a better chance in college. I mean, sure, but he can be like a linebackers coach again. Someone will hire him to do that. But the track record of DC head coach fired, DC fired again a year later, isn't that great. CT ESPN, hire Al Harris, please. Al Harris can be on your list. I wonder if the Cowboys organization is as high on Al Harris as we are, as maybe they should be or shouldn't be, whatever. But do a real search. Don't just hire someone because you've heard of them. That's been the Jones boys mindset. They've done it 3 times in a row now. Do a real coaching search and then figure it out. Now, you can put Al Harris here. That's fine. We're just fans. Who do you want as the next Cowboys DC? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. From Bry, can we still win the East? Yes. All you have to do is win out, and the Eagles lose every game. So it's just not going to happen. That's 2 games against the Commanders. The Eagles have a game against the Bills too, and the Cowboys have to play the Chargers, the Commanders as well, and the Giants. You need the exact outcome of not just yourself, but also the Commanders technically. Just not going to happen. Mike Nintendo Master, what does the cap look like? They're fine on cap. They'll do their built-in switches, restructures. They'll pay some guys, bring down their cap hits. They can have $50, $60, $7 million pretty easily. Even more if they really want to. Now, the Cowboys will say that they don't, but they have the funds available if they want to. From Daniel, I don't understand why Jerry won't get out of his own head and actually do a real search on certain positions. Is there just new ideas? He needs to stop bringing in former coaches. He likes what he knows, and there's ego involved. Like, that's not unique to Jerry in the NFL, by the way. But the ego is a powerful drug, and so too is not liking change. We got free videos for you right here on the Cowboys Report. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. David M. Will the offense be as good next year? If you can keep the quarterback upright, yeah. Well, and that's both like his own health and like the offensive line protection. They're good. This offense, when the quarterback has been healthy, outside of 1 or 2 years exceptions, with 3 different play callers with Dak in the helm the last 6-7 years, have put up top 3 offenses. That's been the lone constant. So I think, yes, the offense should be good next year. It's can the defense not be bottom 5? And that's just to make the playoffs. If you want to do something in the playoffs, you need more than like average or below average. You need a little bit more than that. Drew DTX, I love Al Harris. If he comes, I would wonder if, be surprised if Diggs wants to stay. Yeah, I don't know if Diggs wanted to stay is a him decision at this point. I also want a real search. I want Flores to open anything that's not Flus or Mike Zimmer. I would love Brian Flores. I know he's out of a contract. I don't think he's going to come. That'd be great. I would be all for it. I'm just simply not going to get my hopes up, though. Super Chat menu on today's show. Any super is a shout-out. Put my fan on real quick here. The lights get a little hot again. Classic. $5 into a raffle entry. $10 is 3 raffle entries, so Drew DTX is covered there. $50 for a shot, and $100 for the beer bong here on the Cowboys Report. As season isn't technically over, but it realistically is over at this time. So, the Cowboys fire Matt Eberflus. K for keep, F for fire. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. K for keep, F for fire. Let me know in the comments. Aiden, what's up?
Tom, I don't want to even put this out in the air, but what is the actual likelihood Jerry says, nah, we only had this exact team for half a season. Let's just run it back.
Not 0. Not 0. And like I wouldn't be surprised. It's the Cowboys. It's Jerry. They always do that shit. Jerry is a big fan, and I mean this in a negative way, of not making the same mistake twice. To the extent that he makes a different mistake. Like he does this all the time. He let Mike McCarthy and Jason Garrett stick around for so long because he felt bad he didn't give Dave Campo enough, or not Dave Campo, the one before him. Or Chan Gailey. He's like, I fired Chan Gailey too early. I'm never going to make that mistake again. He was talking about not giving Wade Phillips enough time when he forced him out. He's so adamant. He felt so bad about not taking Randy Moss and ignoring the character that now they always take character guys. Constantly. I think Boss Man Fat's still facing jail time for manslaughter, right? Like, he always does that. And right now he's like, man, I shouldn't have had 3 DCs in 3 years. I don't want to do 4 DCs in 4 years. It's concerning. It's concerning. It should worry us because that's not going to be a good idea. Even though your offense is averaging 29 points a game and you have a negative point differential. I don't know I would love to know what the record for points scored is while giving up more points. Because the Cowboys have a chance to do that this season. They have a real chance. They have a negative 13-point differential, which is right about 500 team, by the way, 1 game below 500. And putting up all those points on offense. Like, it's mind-numbing. It's mind-numbing. There is a chance that if this Cowboys team keeps up the pace it is on, there's a chance, I don't know if they're going to be able to get to it, that they'll be able to set their most points scored ever. They're on pace for 87 more points down the stretch here. They are currently sitting at 407, which would put them at just shy of 500, which they've hit twice.
Oh, my God.
Truly, this is on pace to be one of the 3 best offenses from like a points for perspective ever. But they're on pace to have their worst defense ever. This is why you have to fire Matt Eberflus. I mean, you have to do it. Like, you can't bring back this level of bad. You just can't. So vote for me. Y for yes, N for no. Then we'll get to Drew DTX's $5. Sorry, K for keep, F for fire. I think I just misspoke. I'll get to Drew DTX's $5 super chat coming up next. K for keep, F for fire. Drew DTX. Sometimes when I get tired of JJ, I look at my Dallas Stars GM, Jim Nill, back-to-back GM of the year. Also, not afraid to pay players. It's just how it goes. You know, I'll say this. So it's a results-based business. I get that. You got to stop somehow paying the wrong guy every time. Like, if an injury happens, like, what are you going to do? But when it's like, yeah, we don't know about that deal, it's being a bad deal. It's frustrating. So, last call for Super Chats before we get to our final segment here on today's show. The Cowboys season is effectively over, so we are talking draft here on the Cowboys Report. Mel Kiper updated his NFL draft big board before this past weekend's games. We will break down some of the top Cowboys draft targets on that top 25 and some other names to monitor with that other first-round pick, too. Now, if you want a Cowboys mock draft later this week, 7 rounds, show it by typing me in the comments section of today's video. I would assume every single person watching wants it, but show it and prove it to me by typing in me in the comments section. Let's get into Mel Kiper's big board. We won't spend as much time on everyone like Dante Moore, Fernando, Mendoza are 1-2 on Mel's list, but the Cowboys aren't going to be in quarterback range, aren't taking a quarterback anyway. Now, Jeremiyah Love, outside shot, he is there for the Cowboys. He is an awesome football player. You can make the argument he is the best non-QB or just outright best player in this year's class. He is dynamic. He offers 3-down ability. He is explosive. If he is there for you, let's say you're picking 12 thereabouts, just like last year. That is the best player on the board. Can this team afford to take a back? Does he even get there? Who knows? Arvell Reese has slowed down, by the way. He has not been as productive as of late in a class that has kind of put, a damper on some of the top defensive players. Reese will probably be off the board before the Cowboys pick. Francis Mauigoa, I think somebody takes him early. He might be a guard in the NFL, but you could put him at right tackle and replace Terrence Steele. Mel would move up 4 spots, by the way, on his last big board from 9 to 5. I don't know if he's going to be there. Another riser is David Bailey, who I would take with your first-round pick. I just write it in. Let's do it. He's awesome. Look at that pressure rate. And I get it's Big 12 tackles. Like, he's been good against everyone he's played. Everyone he's played, he's dominated. 13.5 sacks, 17 TFLs. Is he the best edge rusher in the class? That is certainly up for debate. But given how edges will probably go early with where you will be picking, if he is there, I kind of think you just don't overthink it and do it. Who do you want to draft in round 1? A lot of different names you can throw in there with either first-round pick. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Number 7, Jordyn Tyson. Cowboys not going to go receiver. Kenyon Sadiq. Cowboys aren't going to go tight end. Carnell Tate, number 9. Cowboys aren't going to go that route either. Mekhi Lemon. They're not going to go receiver. Number 11, I think Mel was too low on him, but Mel has always hated safeties. He does not like spending early picks on teams. He's made that very clear. Caleb Downs. I don't think he gets there. I think somebody goes, this is actually the best player in the class. We'll just take him. Looking at like the Bengals, for example, who badly need help there along the spine. If Caleb Downs is there, this is a no-brainer. And I don't like trading up in round 1. I don't have the draft picks to make it happen anyway. If he's there, like let's say 3 picks away from you, I start to consider it. I think you can make a very real argument that Caleb Downs is the best player in this class, and it's one I'll probably make once we get to the actual draft. Back-to-back Buckeyes, number 12 is Sonny Styles here, out of Ohio State, a former safety as well. I think he's more athletic than like C.J. Allen, by the way, but he's explosive. He has the traits that everyone likes. He's got good size, listed at 6'4", 243. Changed the defensive scheme, showed no at all. In fact, past month, I think he's been better than Arvell Reese. He might have been better than Caleb Downs. So given all of your issues at linebacker, if he is there for you in round 1, I will have 0 complaints if he is the pick for the Dallas Cowboys. Today's show is made possible by the Tushy Bidet. A-hole is only a naughty word if you guys wipe. You can use different words to describe members of your defensive coaching staff and the refs, like skid mark, for example. Anyway, the Tushy Bidet is the everyday luxury that instantly transforms your bathroom habits and bottom health for life. 99% of people who wash a Tushy way feel cleaner and fresher after going to the bathroom. It's a soft closed lid that seat that is slam-proof for a gentle, luxurious finish. It is daily decadence with practical benefits. Over half of people who wash with Tushy soothe their hemorrhoids, and 9 out of 10 people reduce itching and discomfort. People who have made the switch to Tushy also use up to 80% less TP. No more clogged toilets, no more wasting money. Something that does an inferior job cleaning your body. 30-day hassle-free return and a 12-month warranty with Tushy Bidet, by the way. Remember, a-hole was only a naughty word if you wipe. For limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when they use code CHAT at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com/chat with promo code CHAT. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Number 13, Jeremiah McCoy. Corner is an area of concern for this Cowboys team beyond, we hope, DeRon Bland and Savone Revel moving forward. McCoy's coming off an injury. He was very good last year. He wasn't Derek Stingley good, but he should be good to go by the NFL Combine. There's plenty of ball hawking ability, 4 interceptions back in 2024. Solid size. I think the length will probably check off pretty well. I could see the Cowboys gambling on him. Spencer Fana, who has played both left tackle and right tackle. If you want another offensive lineman, much like Francis Mauigoa, a name to monitor on this list. All right, number 15, Caden McDonald. They're not going to take a run-stopping nose guard, but he has been very good. Keldrick Falk. This is kind of like the Michael Williams conversation all over again. He's got size. He's 6'6", 285. Hasn't always been deployed in a way that I think maximizes him, kind of like how Michael Williams was deployed at Georgia. He fits very well opposite Donovan Ezeraku, but you are banking on the traits over the production. But with this year's class, you're probably going to have to do that. An edge is a need. You have to get an edge. You don't have enough there. Full stop. What do you think is the biggest need for this Dallas Cowboys team? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Biggest positional need. Can't say owner. Ola Ione out of Penn State. They're not going to take a guard. Peter Woods, 18 here, the defensive tackle out of Clemson. Hasn't been as productive. They're not going to take an AT. They've got too much invested there. Ruben Bain at 19. Now, the length is not great for some. There are people who I think will view him as maybe like an undersized 3 technique in the Osa Odigizua mold. But he's been really good as a passer. He's slowed down after a very hot start to the season. He's gotten more attention paid to him as well as the years go on. But he'll get a good matchup against A&M to certainly watch in the college football playoff. DT Amari Washington. Again, they're not going to take a run stopper at 20 or in the round 1. They just can't do that. The other edge out of Miami, Akeem Mesidor, number 21 on Mel's big board here. I am a little surprised. He's on this back-to-back weeks or back-to-back updates that Mesidor is so high. Cowboys do love their Canadian players. The biggest concern that I have here with Akeem Mesidor, who's a West Virginia transfer, by the way, has 7 sacks this year. That's a big-time breakout for him. Over the course of his career, he hasn't been crazy productive. It was 5.5 back in 2024, flashed in 2022 with 7 sacks, but he kind of had the breakout. He's going to be a 25-year-old rookie. He is a good player. He does a lot of like just the effort stuff well. I do worry about him being a worthy round 1 pick. I feel like he's kind of more of just a day 2 guy. Another receiver, Zachariah Branch. Mel loves him. Not going to be a pick. I would take Mansour Delane in a heartbeat. He doesn't get beat. Isn't the number 1 job of a cornerback, of a coverage player, to cover? He has allowed 13 catches all year. He was very good at Virginia Tech, under the radar name. You can go back and watch our videos 2 years ago. He was on our lists before he had a not great year behind a bad Hokies team and then had the breakout year for LSU. The issue is he's not the biggest. He's not the longest, which the Cowboys crave, and he's not the tallest, and not the fastest. And those guys, I would take him. Something tells me the Cowboys might not feel the same way, sadly. Denzel Boston out of Washington is next up here on the list. Again, they're not going to take a corner. Under the radar name that I know really I've only seen Mel Kiper throw some. I'm sure somebody else has. I'm just not aware of who it is. Kelly Jones, who you're going to look at the size and go, that's a Cowboy. 6'4", 195. Listed size, even if he's only like 6'3" or 6'2 and a half, like that's really good size for an NFL corner. I don't have the arm length on him, but I would assume that it's very long. He is young, by the way, so I think he's only a redshirt sophomore, so he might not end up going pro. He has been pretty darn good this year for Mississippi State. Now, when he's gotten beat, it's been kind of ugly, but he has been productive for the Bulldogs. So will the Cowboys trade down in round one? I would love to. I think in this year's class, there will probably be more teams trying to move down than there are trying to move up. But there are some other names that fit as a trade down, etc. candidate. Other prospects, Caleb Loma, who might not go pro. Caden Proctor as a tackle too, but I get Evan Neal concerns there. Both Missouri guys, spent some time on them, Zion Young and Damon Wilson here in a second. TJ Parker out of Clemson, Cassius Howard of A&M. I think there are some good edge depth in this year's class. I think there is talent there. Damon Wilson has been the better run stopper. Damon Wilson has been the better pass rusher this year for the Missouri Tigers. Zion Young has been the better run stopper. I am a little bit higher on Zion Young. I know Dane is higher on Zion Young. Wilson offers you more juice off the edge. Both guys, I think, have worked themselves into top 50 conversation overall this season. TJ Parker, talking about someone who's worked themselves down this year, just hasn't been as good. Just has not been as good of a player. He's regressed. And I've heard, I think Dane mentioned day 2 grades there. So I get why he's out of the top 25 for Mel. That's reasonable. Cassius Howard is just good. He just wins, man. He gets sacks. That's all he does. Now, the issue with Cassius Howard is insanely short arms. Insanely short arm length. And that is going to turn teams off. But he's good with the short arms anyway. He's got a bit of a wild card draft range outcome, I think, right now. Other prospects, Anthony Hill. I know Dane's mentioned day 2. Mel's pretty high on him. I don't think he's going to go round 1, but all it takes is 1, and he should test pretty well too. C.J. Allen, more on him in a second, plus the other 3 corners of note, Avion Terrell, Brandon Cisse, Colton Hood. A lot of these guys fit, I think, decently as a kind of second first-round pick target. I don't have a huge gap between Styles and Allen. Might even come down to flavor of ice cream. Are you a vanilla or are you a chocolate chip person? Like, Allen has instincts. You need that on this team pretty badly. I would almost take the highly instinctual player right now over the regular player because of the issues with the athletic ability you've run into with guys who aren't smart enough. Other notes here, the corners are all pretty good. Avion Terrell, I think, not perfect, but like he's got that dog in him and you need that. Brandon Cisse kind of will do that as well. He's had a breakout year for South Carolina. Colton Hood as well, Tennessee. Yeah, those guys are around 50% completion rate, under 400 yards, plenty of pass breakups. I think if you're looking for a corner back end of round 1, you should be able to find somebody in this class. Speaking of corners, will Trevon Diggs play again in Dallas? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. It is the pin poll. 80% are voting no on that front. And I think you guys are right. I think that it's at its end. Regardless of whose fault it is, I think everyone shares blame. It's over. Reminder of this week's live programming. So obviously wrapping up today's live show right now. Subscribe for all of this coverage, folks. We're going to be live on Thursday for our regular Thursday show. Live on Saturday, we will have a bonus watch party, Texas A&M against the Miami Hurricanes. So we will have that game for you here. It'll be a tri-cast on the Cowboys Report, on Chat Sports, and on the Ohio State Football Report since they play the week after the winner of that game. So we are on the road to 250,000 subs, about 10K away. Hit that sub button. Videos every day, multiple lives this week. Hit that sub button right now.